Hello YouTube viewers, Tony Walker here, and got a little bit different sort of video for you today. This is a video for Pastor Matthew Everhard, and he asked if I would make it in a way where he could share it on his channel, so more than happy to do so to help out anybody who is looking for the works of Jonathan Edwards at a good price, or for that matter, a way to search and find books, maybe more rare type books, at a good price. So what we're going to do, you can see over here on the little yellow sticky pad, I'm going to give you a quick intro for what this video is about. I'll save the why and my usual rambling much longer than I should for the end, and then I'll show you the Logos Bible software option for getting these volumes electronically. All right, so the purpose behind this video, about a week and a half ago, I posted this picture on Twitter. And what this picture is, here I am sitting at my desk. Up on the top part of my desk, turned it into a more place to put books. And that's kind of my focal point in my office or whatever. Besides the resolutions of Jonathan Edwards that are framed behind me, on the opposite wall, here we have the works of Jonathan Edwards. And as you can see, these 26 volumes, most of them have the beautiful blue dust jackets, but some of them do not. So I posted this picture to Twitter asking Yale if they could help me out. So far, they haven't responded. But I was just, hoping that I could get these final few book covers to go with these books that I purchased used, just to kind of make the set, not look like a sore thumb, actually have the set match, which I know is probably vain, but a set like this that means a lot will be, hopefully one day I'll get to use it a lot and will be passed down, hopefully my kids don't take it to Goodwill or anything when I die, but hopefully it'll stay in the family for many generations. You want it to look nice. And so I asked Yale if they could help me out. Well, Pastor Matthew Everhard saw this. Make sure you check out his channel. A lot of good content on there. But Matt, he asked me what was the best way to go about finding these books, because these books, if you buy them new, just at retail price online, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for them. And so what I did is this little tweet right here. What this video is just a visual of how I went about over the course of, I don't exactly remember now, but somewhere between 9 and 12 months, probably almost a year's time, how I was able to get this set that would have taken me a lot longer if I just, paid the normal price. All right, so what I did is found a way to use this website that I never had heard before, but I found it in my searching, Bookfinder for You. Now, Bookfinder for You, you can search by title, author, keyword, but here's the key, ISBN number. So what you need are the 26 ISBN numbers for the works of Jonathan Edwards, the hardback versions from the Yale edition. And so I've done the homework for you here, ISBN numbers. Here's a PDF file I'll share. Of the ISBN numbers, you can copy and paste. So here are the 26 ISBN numbers for the Yale hardbacks of the works of Jonathan Edwards, and you can find that file at preachertony.com/JE-trip. preachertony.com/JE-trip. So you get those, and what you're going to do is on Bookfinder for You, you're going to go through and paste and search for those, all 26 of those ISBN numbers. A few little things you want to do, you want to click on Filter Stores and make sure every single option is selected in your searches. And then what you want to do is make sure you sort it by total price. Make sure you do total price because the shipping is going to vary. So that you have an accurate number there. Now, once you have the 26 tabs open, probably the easiest way to do it in your browser, however your browser works, make a folder for those 26 links, and what you're going to do is what I did, is just right-click on it every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. Because there's not going to be a pattern where this book goes from $125 and then $120 and then $115. What you're going to see is this book used is going to be like $80 for 6 months straight, and then for some strange reason the France division of Amazon, somebody's going to put the books on the used bookstore for like, $30 each, and they're in almost mint, nearly brand new condition. And had you not been using a search like this, you may never would see that price. But using Bookfinder for You, searching all 26 ISBNs every day, sorting it by total price, including the shipping when you're dealing with foreign websites, overseas websites, overseas sellers, what you're kind of doing is just searching for a needle in a haystack, and what you're hoping for is that once out of 6 months, one day out of 6 months, that needle is going to be like 90% off. That's what you're going for. Now, it may seem like a headache to do that, and if you have the money, just to buy the set brand new outright, then obviously if you can do that, that'd be the easiest way to go about it. But if, like me, you're not in a position to do that, but you would like to acquire these volumes, even though you may not need them all at once. Certainly I do not. But if it is something that you would like to add to your library, I found that this was the best way to go about it. Now, it does require patience. Obviously this wasn't a 2-month project. As I said, this was probably almost a year or close to it of just, being patient and looking, and also determining how much you are willing to pay. So let me mention a couple of things about that, a few things. Number one, just go ahead and set a price in your mind after you've gauged some of these prices. What are you willing to pay for a brand new book? All right, so if it pops up and it sells for $150 new, $125, $115 new, what is a new price worth to you? Or a new book, what price are you willing to pay? The second thing is, if it is a used book and you can contact the seller and get pictures of the condition, because most of these sellers aren't going to put detailed conditions in there. They're just going to put a generic description. May include writing, may have underlining, may be missing a dust jacket, may have slightly dog-eared pages, or whatever. If you get a description like that, what are you willing to pay for a book that would be considered a good used book? And then the other thing that I found that you need to be aware of is, what kind of price are you willing to pay for a book that you have no clue what kind of condition it is in? Now, if they are selling, for example, right here, Volume 1 from the work of Jonathan Edwards, which, let me give you a little hint, you need to double check and make sure that's not the paperback version, although this is the correct ISBN, someone may have listed it up under an incorrect ISBN number. So anyway, so make sure you're dealing with the hardback. But there was a few times where I found some of the volumes at really, really dirt cheap prices, like 80 to 90% off. Well, there's a reason for that. The book may be in pitiful condition. Somebody may have bent the book so far backwards that it split the spine in half, which unfortunately one of mine that I got was in that condition. But, if you say, what, if this X amount of dollars is, I'm willing to pay that no matter what the book looks like, you may, like, for example, volume 26 that I got for so cheap, it was, basically, I can see it right now, it looks like it was a volume that was hardly even handled. So just kind of think through those things for yourself, whatever your financial ability is, to what are you willing to pay for a new book? What are you willing to pay for a used book that's going to have maybe a little bit of underlining or markings, knowing there's not going to be a whole lot of these flooding the market? And what kind of risk are you willing to take if a book is listed for, 90, 95, 85% off? All right. So, save your, use the PDF file here, get your 26 ISBN numbers, open up 26 tabs, searching for the ISBN numbers. Make sure you have it selected to sort by total price, including the shipping, which is going to vary greatly from these stores. Make sure that you filter the stores to include all the single options, including foreign countries. And then just be patient and check it, every single day. Another thing, now this does search eBay stores. Honestly, I don't know how quick it is doing that searching, what the time delay is, but it also would not hurt to go into eBay and save a search and select the option so that it sends you a notification alert when a Jonathan Edwards volume pops up for sale on eBay. All right, so we've talked about the tweet behind this video, the website Bookfinder for You. I made sure to tell you to make sure you're selecting all countries, not just USA. The option to be alerted if if a volume shows up on eBay. One thing that I regret, and maybe somebody watching this video, maybe you're the one who got it. I remember right before I started this process, maybe, I don't know, 6 months or a year, somewhere in there, someone put on eBay the entire set, all 26 volumes, excuse me, of the works of Jonathan Edwards for one buy it now price that was probably about the price of 6 or 7 volumes if you had, bought them from Yale or whatever. And for so long, I could kick myself because I did not, sometimes I realize we need to be smart, financially, but sometimes you just take a risk and you just pay the consequences later because it's too good to pass up. Well, I passed that up, and even in my eBay searching, I still have those notifications set to pop up and alert me. In these several years now, I still haven't seen a deal like that pass up. So the chance of you finding this set used, complete, at a good price is going to be, once in a decade or whatever. So probably like me, you're going to have to build this set on a book-by-book basis. Now, if for whatever reason, maybe your church gives you money to buy books, or maybe for academic reasons you have funds to get these books, and you're not, like a lot of pastors and just trying to do stuff on your own with what you got to work with, maybe you are in a situation where you can buy these books in larger chunks and you would like them brand new. Let me tell you about another option. Now, I do not know this man personally. I did buy, I think maybe, let's see, maybe 1 or 2 volumes from this website. Solidgroundbooks.com. Note the hyphens in there, but solidgroundbooks.com. This guy sells brand new books from the Works of Jonathan Edwards set, and he has a price where he looks like he's getting about 30 to 33 somewhere percent off these books. He has his store set up where you can buy them in chunks. There's a 1 to 12, there's a 13 to 26. There is the option where you can buy all 26 volumes on a payment plan, or you can buy all the miscellanies in one chunk, or you can buy all the sermons in one chunk, or maybe like I did just starting out several years ago, which that is a good price. That's cheaper than what I paid for it. I think I got mine at Amazon for only 10% off. It was $81. So this is a good deal right here from Banner of Truth, or he's getting it, I guess, from Banner of Truth. The Banner of Truth edition, which is just 2 volumes, but it is going to include quite a bit crammed into those 2 volumes with a very, very, very small font and good-sized books. So if you don't want to go the used book route, and you want to make sure that you're getting them all brand new, but you don't want to do it at retail prices, but you can do it, maybe at a quicker pace than most of us can, this would be a person to talk to. And I've never met him in person. His wife had a book table set up. Maybe he just wasn't there yet at I think it was the G30 conference in Atlanta last year. And so this is an individual guy, kind of working on his own. So it would hurt to contact him and just see what he could do for you. But again, that's not, used books at used books prices. That's a good discount on the new price. All right, so just wanted to make that aware of you. That is an option. There was a couple books. It seems like there was a couple that I was almost towards the end and just was, in a hurry to finish the collection. And they just weren't going on sale using, my normal book finder for you searches. And I think I finally bit the bullet and got 1 or 2 of them from him, so I could go ahead and knock those volumes out. All right, so I'm going to let that kind of portion conclude. How I use Book Finder for you to find this set at a good price, relatively speaking, good price, that otherwise I would not normally have been able to acquire, especially at one time, but also probably on a book by book basis. So I hope that portion of the video was helpful to someone. Hopefully that'll help you be able to find this set or maybe any other book at a good price as you search for rare theological books at websites all around the world. All right, so if you only thing you're concerned about is the thoughts behind Bookfinder for you, we'll let that be it on that. Now, for anyone who wants to hear me ramble now, why would someone want or need a set like that? Especially, speaking honestly, someone like me who is obviously not a scholar. Well, a couple things. I've heard a famous preacher before say to, just kind of pick one person from church history and just study. Just read about them, study about them, learn from them. Find out what they teach that's right. You're going to come across some things you disagree with. But if you give a lifetime to studying someone whose works have survived in church history, it's not going to hurt you. And that seemed like it was very, very good advice, I thought. Another time, it seems like I read or heard someone say, and I forget who to attribute this one to, but it said, if you invest in a big set of a theological work or biblical work, don't underestimate yourself. Give it enough time. Work your way slowly through that set. It may take you many, many years to do it, but you may find, that a little bit of time each day or a little bit of time each week or, realistically, in my shoes, sometimes little bitty chunks throughout the month. You'll be amazed what you get through. It's going to happen slower, than most people, but you're going to learn a lot, and you'll be the better for it, or you'll learn and be better off for it. So there's that. Another thing is, sometimes people, with books, they'll say, I can't believe a book costs that much money. Well, people who write these books, they need to pay for their house payment and feed their families and things like that. And the more, I'm look into that world and stuff. Not that I'm writing a book, but just maybe a little more studious than I was in my 20s and such. We should be thankful for people in the body of Christ whose intellect, is much greater than mine. I should not look at those people with envy, although a lot of times I do, and wish maybe I was more in that world. But those people aren't our enemies. For people like me and us, here in country type churches and in the Bible Belt, who may not be scholars or things like that, we shouldn't cast stones at gifts given to the body of Christ who have great minds. We should be thankful for those people. And the people who can come along behind somebody like Jonathan Edwards and write books about them and, elaborate on their ideas and such, whether we agree with them always or not, they need to, buy their kids clothes and groceries and things like that. And so sometimes books cost more than, what we want to pay for them. Well, another thing, when they're published by, university presses and they're academic books instead of, just regular paperback books like, whatever, these books aren't going to be, $12 books you can pick up at Lifeway. Another thing is, a lot of times people will cast stones at how much a good study book that's going to serve you well for the rest of your life, and you can pass it down to multiple generations, and it has timeless truths that are going to endure much longer than the current trends and fads. Those people who will talk about a book costing, $40 like it's just crazy, most of the time, those people have a cell phone that is going to cost many more times over what that book cost. And whereas that book is going to last for 2 or 3 generations, that cell phone is going to be out of date and traded in 2 or 3 years. And so, we all have our hobbies. We all spend money on, what we like. We all kind of cheap and skimp by on the things we don't like or don't think are important. And, we're just going to spend our money on what we think is valuable to us and can help us. So, somebody may scoff at an entire set that costs, several $100s of books, like it's just crazy. Even though those books may get used every day or multiple times a week, and that same person may have, $20,000 worth of guns in their safe that, only get used a few times a year. And so I think we just need to be careful. Now, probably the people interested in these books understand what I'm saying. Sometimes people, in our neck of the woods here where I am, you know, maybe I'm painting with too broad of a brush, but forgive me. But there's just some people, even in religious circles, who just don't see the value in maybe in-depth study. So why would you spend the money on a set like that? Well, that may be some reasons. Another thing is, if you have a hobby and you're going to give your life to that hobby, or you're going to give the little pieces of free time in the short life you have to that hobby, whether it's Jonathan Edwards or John Owen or Peter Van Mastricht or the Theology of Hebrews or Matthew Henry or Spurgeon or Lloyd Jones or whatever, John Piper, MacArthur, Flavel. If you're gonna invest and study in those things, it is nice to have good tools to use. Now, most people who are policemen, they do not walk around with a $4 flashlight and a pair of handcuffs from the fair or the carnival. Because that is something that their livelihood depends on, they're probably going to have like a $75 or $100 flashlight, and they're going to have handcuffs that cost whatever good handcuffs cost. They're not going to skimp by on the tools that make their job either easier or are going to be more you can rely on them better. And so I'm sure everyone understands my analogy there. So that's probably just a little bit on why it's not a bad idea to invest in these things. Now, and if you've made it this far in the video, then that's probably all you need to hear about that. Now, another option I want to mention for you, it is nice having the hardbacks. Take for example volume 16 of the works of Jonathan Edwards. I can open up, I can flip through this book, and here's a letter 163. I've got some highlights and some underlines and some various things that I've underlined and circled and things like that. Now, while you can read let me make sure I emphasize that, you can read all 26 volumes for free at edwards.yale.edu. Unless you've got an unlimited printer and ink, you're probably not going to be printing all that out and highlighting it. And if you're the type who remembers where stuff is, on the page and things like that, or you just like flipping through and just being reminded of, where you were at, maybe even physically and time where you were at, or just in your spiritual life where you were at as you read through and are challenged by these things, it does make good reminders, good little markers and memorials in your Christian journey, to just go back and be reminded of some of these notes and underlines as these books go from acquaintances to friends and helpers on our Christian pilgrimage. And also, one thing I heard somebody mention that's a good practice is to use the inside of the book to make little notes. So, for example, I'm obviously not going to remember everything in this 700-page book, 800-page book. So, for example, letter number 76, David Brainerd and Jerusha Edwards went on a trip to Boston together, which some people say just doesn't really mean anything. I still can't help but think maybe they had a little liking for each other. Letter number 99 is a beautiful letter to his daughter on being close to God, though far from home, which I'm pretty sure I read that. I remember the situation where I was reading that and how that was a blessing. Letter number 114, doubt is not equal to unbelief. So if assurance of salvation is something that maybe you struggle with or are interested in studying, what Edwards said, not from the pulpit, but in a personal letter to someone else, that doubt and unbelief are not the exact same thing. It'd be interesting just to be able to flip back and say, oh, yeah, I remember Edwards said something about that. I can't remember exactly what page it's on, but you can go and find these notes that you add and personalize these books and make these books your own. And it's kind of hard to do that with either the free edition or even the electronic edition. So it is nice having these hardback tangible volumes. Another thing, well, when I die one day, somebody's going to get these books. As I joked, I think at the beginning of this video, hopefully these books aren't going to get dropped off at Goodwill. I'm pretty sure one of my volumes came from Goodwill Seattle. It was listed on eBay or Amazon, and it came from a Goodwill store in Seattle. And so, just think of the person who, for whatever reason, dropped off a $125 retail price book at Goodwill, or probably somebody in the family saw it and says, oh, it's probably not worth anything, drop it off at Goodwill. Hopefully our children won't do this with our library, but somebody's going to get these books, and hopefully it'll be someone who cares about the content of the books. And as they flip through them, it will be nice. I think it would be nice and encouraging for my children to flip through these books one day and read and note what was, important to me. And they're going to know what Daddy was going through in 2019, and that probably made sense why that sermon in that volume from the Works of Jonathan Edwards meant what it did. And so, it's kind of hard to do that with an electronic library. I joked with someone one time, all these electronic editions, they are nice, they are handy, but it just doesn't have the same feeling when you die and somebody hands somebody a USB drive and say, oh yeah, Daddy wanted to make sure you got this. Doesn't seem like that's going to have the same impact as, those tangible objects.